In this video, we're going to be learning how to layer melody and harmony together. A lot of times when you're learning to play, you might play a single melody line at a time and it sounds kind of empty and maybe even a little bit dull. By adding in extra notes, you can create a much richer sound, and there's no better tune to do this with than Aloha Oi. Utilizing the thumb stroke technique, we're going to find our own voice with the ukulele and be able to articulate this melody in a way that's very different than how you might sing it and very unique to the ukulele. To start with this, what we need to do is learn this rest stroke technique. So let's go ahead and dive in. Go ahead and pick up your ukulele. Go ahead and take your thumb on your playing hand. And what you're going to do is practice just playing the G string, your top string right here. And the position I want you to be at is I want your thumb to be right about here. You notice on my ukulele, my fretboard and my sound hole meet right here. I'm going to put the thumb right about that area. It's okay if you're a little higher, it's okay if you're a little lower. Everybody does it in a little bit different of a place. But for now, just kind of start at this point. I want you to make sure that this knuckle right here is bent back like this. You see how I'm not creasing it like so? I'm keeping it back. And I'm going to be driving the string more with the base of the thumb over here as opposed to up here. Down here, not here. And what I'm going to do is take my other fingers, I'm going to take my pinky, and I'm going to set it kind of in this divot right here. Take the middle finger and ring finger and kind of cup them outside, and the index fingers just kind of hang out. Now, I'm 6'3" and can palm a basketball. My hands are pretty big. Your hands are probably going to be a little bit smaller than mine, so your shape will change a bit. Everybody does this in a unique way, and everyone's tone is unique as a result of it. So find what kind of works for you for that comfort. And once we're going to have our thumb on this G, we're going to practice striking the G and resting the thumb now on the C string. This is where the name rest stroke comes from. So go ahead and just try practicing this with me. We're just going to play the G. If you're high G, low G, it's all good. Just try practicing playing that string. Notice how as I complete that strike, I rest the finger on that C string. Also notice that I'm plucking from more the base of the thumb here, as opposed to doing something like this. That gives us a little bit more power, which leads to a better tone. Now after we've done this a few times, let's go ahead and try doing the same thing on the C string. This time I'm resting now on the E string. And then let's try doing it on the E string now, resting on the A string. And then let's play the A string, resting on the, oh, there's nowhere to rest here. But the mindset's the same. We're still driving the finger through the string, and we're kind of imagining that there's something that we can rest here. We're kind of just using these fingers here that are supporting our hand to kind of brace the finger after we drive through it. Now this is great when we're trying to articulate individual melody notes, but with this, the whole point is playing melody and harmony together, which means we need to play more than one note at a time. This rest stroke is a fantastic technique to do this with because if we go up to our G string again, we can strike our G and follow through the C and then rest on the E. Now I'm playing two strings at the same time. Go ahead and try this with me. Helps to kind of angle the thumb so that it strikes inward. We're moving the thumb in towards the body of the instrument so that it stops on that string a little bit easier. Now try the C and E strings together. Notice how I'm resting on that A string. And then I'm going to do the G, C, and E together, resting on the A. And finally, I'm going to do all four. There's nowhere to rest when we do it on all four, but that's okay. The mindset's the same, and it's going to give us that sound that we're looking for. It gives us power by playing with the back of the thumb. It's a beautiful way to get a beautiful tone out of your ukulele playing. Let's go ahead and take a look at it now with Aloha Oi to get a beautiful melody and harmony sound together. Let's go ahead and take a look at this tune. So go ahead and pull open the tab now. We're going to start here with what's called a pickup bar. Now a pickup bar is or an anacrusis, I think, is just essentially a partial bar to start a song. And this is going to start with the 2 on the C and the 3 on the E. Now to play this, we want to take our fretting hand. We're going to take our index finger, place it here on the 2nd fret of the C string. Then take your ring finger and place it here on the 3rd fret of the E string. Really quick, important note, make sure that these fingers are getting right up next to the fret wire. That's going to make it much easier to get a good connection to the fret, which is going to lead to a good tone. All of our emphasis here with our right hand to get this good tone is all for naught if our left hand is not also maintaining good technique. So make sure that your hands are working together to get the best possible tone. Get right up next to those fret wires. So I'm going to play the 2 on the C using my rest stroke here. And then I'm going to play 3 on the E with my rest stroke. Now we go into the first full measure. We're going to play a G chord. Leave these fingers where they are. Just add the middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A string. Strum through all 4 strings. Now we're going to take off the A string. So that middle finger comes off. We're going to play open on the A. Then we're going to take off the index finger, leaving the ring finger where it is on 3 of the E. Do a rest stroke on your G, C, and E, stopping on the A string. This is to give you a C chord. Now this might not be how you usually play a C chord, but it's what's needed here because our melody note is this 3 on the E string, this G note. So we have to make sure that we stop on the melody note so that it can punch through. You'll notice as we play this arrangement, the last note that we play of every chord is always going to be our melody note. After we've done that, we're then going to play 2 on the E string. What I like to do here is before I need it, I'm going to place my middle finger on that 2nd fret of the E, still maintaining contact with the 3 of the E on the ring. And then I'll take off the ring finger, and this is a 16th note, so it's quite quick, so we're going to just re-add that ring finger to 3 on the E. So that I play. And then I'm going to open the fingers by playing open on the E string. Then we're going to play 2 on the C. We're going to build our G chord again. We don't need the full G chord yet, so add that index finger first to play it, but then follow through with the rest of the chord. We strum through all 4 strings. Then we're going to play the 2 on the A, which is already there. Then we're going to play a D7. This is a little bit of a modified D7. The way we do this is we take our ring finger off and we take these 2 fingers and jump them up to the 2nd fret of the G string and the 2nd fret of the E string. Strum through all 4 strings with that thumb using that rest stroke technique, which is, even though we're not resting on a string there, you can hear that beautiful melodic sound come through because I'm using the base of the thumb, kind of bouncing over the strings with the finger. The next thing is going to be the 4 on the E string. The pinky finger is going to come over here to the 4th fret. This can be a little difficult if you haven't done this before. It can sound a little bitter if you're playing it slow, but I promise fast. Sounds great. So we're going to play that 4 on the E. Then we're going to play 0 on the A twice. Then we're going to play 3 on the A. We can use our pinky finger here. And then 2 on the A with our ring finger here, taking the pinky off. And then strum through our thumb on the modified D7 again. And then we're going to play the first 2 notes of the whole song again. Remember we talked about that little pickup bar? Well, we're playing essentially that same thing now for the end of this bar, which will be the 2 on the C string with our index finger, and the 3 on the E with our ring finger because we're trying to set up a G chord. So that you can hear it though, let's go and listen to this entire stanza. Now a stanza is just going to be a line of music. In this case, it's the pickup bar along with the first 4 full measures. This stanza should sound something like this. As we go into the next stanza here, it's going to look very familiar. Starts off exactly the same. You'll notice that this here measure is going to have the G chord into the C chord, into the G chord again. But instead of holding the G chord now, we're going to play the 2 on the C and the 3 on the E right afterwards. So a measure 6, it departs and changes just a little bit. Then going to the next measure, we're going to open up our hand. We're going to play our G, C, and E strings together, doing the rest stroke, stopping on the A string. Then we'll play the A string, then the 3rd fret on the E string with the ring finger here. And then we're going to play that modified D7 we played earlier, 2, 0, 2, 0, index and middle fingers. But we're going to stop on the A string. So we're going to play the G, C, and E together. We'll play that E string again. Then we're going to play the A string, but not open. Instead, add that ring finger on 2 of the A and open on the A. And then we're going to go back to our G chord, and we rest stopping on the A string. So we just play the G, C, and E together. And then we're going to play a G7 chord. To do that, fingers got to flip-flop. G to G7 doesn't sound like it should be hard, and it's not hard when you've done it a million times like you will on your ukulele journey, but if you haven't done it before, it can feel like a bit much. Just keep in mind that you're going to be flip-flopping fingers. I like to actually start with my index on the first fret of the E string and then kick the middle finger up to the second fret of the C string, and that ring finger goes down to the second fret of the A. So we have 0, 2, 1, 2. And this is the iconic part of the song, because after this we're now going to go to the... But before we go there, let's make sure that this stanza is really comfortable. After we play that G7, we then play the 2 on the C to go into the next part. But if you listen to what these measures should sound like together, measures 5 through 8 should be something like this. And now we get to go to my favorite part of this arrangement. The next couple parts are really simple, yet really interesting, because up until this point, we haven't played past fret 4. I think 4 was the highest we went up. Now we're going to move up the fretboard, and we're going to move up the fretboard playing harmony. Now, we talked about that at the start of everything, right? Melody and harmony. What does this mean? Well, the melody is the individual line of notes, and harmony is what we play to accompany it. To this point, the harmony we've been playing has been chords, but at this point, we're going to be a little bit different. We're going to be playing what are called thirds with the harmony, and that's not too important to worry about right now, the theory behind it. Just know that this is a really common musical practice to create a really rich sound. And we're going to do it by moving the thirds up the neck. We're going to start by playing the 0 on the C string and the 0 on the E string together. And we're going to use our rest stroke, taking our thumb, striking those 2 strings, resting on the on the A string to create that sound. The E string is our melody note, so we want to make sure we dig in just a little bit more with that one, be a little softer with the C string, create that sound. Then we're going to play 4 on the C and 3 on the E. Melody notes still on the C and the E strings, and we're going to just be moving up. So that melody now on the E string, harmony on the C string. And I'm using my middle finger there on the 4th fret of the C, index finger there on the 3rd fret of the E. Now I'm going to take this middle finger, I'm going to slide it up to fret 7 of the C string. I'm going to take my ring finger, I'm going to add it on 8 of the E string. And I'm going to play this 7 and this 8 on the C and E together. And that gives us our... It's just a beautiful sound. The goal here is tone and attention to tone. And what I mean by that is using that rest stroke technique, stopping on the A string, you can really make sure that you're articulating the notes well with your playing hand. But just like we talked about at the start here, make sure that those fingers are getting right up next to the fret wire. It's really important to get a really good tone. You don't have to push harder, you have to push smarter by just getting right up snug next to those fret wires. And after we've done those first 3 notes, which is my favorite part of the whole song, we're then going to play open on the E. Just take the ring finger off. And then we just go down to a G chord. Now, on the G chord, instead of moving up the fretboard like we did just a moment ago, we're going to just move down the strings. So this is another great exercise for our rest stroke. We're going to pluck our G and C together, melody note being on the C string. Then we're going to play the C and E strings together, melody note now on the E string. And then we could just play the E and A, but you notice on the tab it's the full chord. Couldn't resist. It's just too much beautiful harmony to leave out. Then we're going to play open on the A, take that middle finger off. And then we're going to go to our modified D7, 2, 0, 2 with our index and middle fingers here. Strum through our G, C, and E. And then we're going to play open on the E and immediately back on 2. That's another one of those 16th notes. Just note that that's going to be pretty fast. And then we're going to play 3 on the E with our ring finger here. Open on the A string twice. Ring finger then can jump over to 3 on the A string. And then after we've played that twice, we go to our G chord. So these 2 fingers are going to jump down, and this finger is going to come up. And we have our 0, 2, 3, 2. Strum through all 4 strings. Then we go to our G7. in preparation to do it all again, play the 2 on the C. So that stanza, which is my favorite, sounds something like this. And guess what? As we go on to the next 4 bars, it's going to start with the same stuff. All of that's the same. So that starts on measure 11 there. We're going to play that same C sequence that we did before. And we're going to play the same G and C strings together there for the next bar. But then it changes. At this point, we're going to play the 2 on the C again, and the 3 on the E twice, and then through a full G chord. And that's a little bit faster than some of the earlier parts we played. We're going to be playing the 0 on the G and the 2 on the C together. And then we're going to play 2 on the C again, and then 3 on the E, 3 on the E again, and then a G chord. And then we're going to play 3 on the E one more time for that measure. Then we're going to go to that modified D7 that we played many times to this point. Add the 3 with the ring finger on the E string. Then the middle finger is going to kick down to 2 on the A. Then open on the A, and then the middle finger comes to 2 on the E. And then we're going to play a G chord, but instead of the way we usually play it, we're just going to take that middle finger, we're going to slide it up 1 fret to 3 on the E string, move the index down to 2 on the C string. And the reason for this, we don't need the A string. We're going to do that rest stroke, stopping on the A string. And at this point, we are at the second to last chord of the song. And you may elect to skip the last chord and just repeat. Go back after you've done this. And go back all the way through. Right? It works wonderfully as a song to repeat. But if you're wanting to end it, what you can do at that point is, after you've played that G this way, we then go to my absolute favorite G chord on the ukulele. It's absolutely beautiful. High G or low G. Sounds great on both. 0, 11, 10, 10. Sounds scary. Take your middle finger, go and place on the 11th fret of the C string. Make sure that you get a good arch with this finger. And then take the index and do a partial bar on the 10th fret of the E and the A strings, just like so. So I'm getting a good crease and bend with this finger here. And then this one is going to be more recessed. This is tricky if you've never done something like this before, but we strum through all 4 strings. And it's a beautiful root position G chord. And so that whole stanza should sound something like this. And there you have it. There is Aloha Oi, an absolutely beautiful melody that's a great thing to work on to get comfortable with the rest stroke and playing with this thumb picking style. Now, what's interesting about this is this technique is utilized all the time by a lot of different players to create a really melodic sound. It is great to layer in that melody and harmony together like what we're doing here. You might sometimes hear this being called chord melody style, right? Chord in this case is just a type of harmony. So harmony, chord can be kind of synonymous. So chord melody, harmony melody, well, melody and harmony being layered together. It's all kind of the same stuff. And the reason why I like this technique so much isn't just because it's so good at playing these melodic lines, but because it's good at helping you find your voice as an ukulele player. Everybody has a little bit different of a tone and technique that they can get their tone out of with this. You'll notice that my thumb, I like to keep right about that area that we talked about in our tips and tricks portion. Well, sometimes I like to move my thumb more back when I want to get a brighter sound. So if I want to play that sort of sound, it's going to be a much more brittle, bright sound. But if I move more up, it's a much warmer sound. The instrument I'm playing, the strings I'm using, and the technique and position all change depending on the tone that I'm looking for. And this is one of the magical parts about your ukulele journey, is finding what tone works best for you. With this thumb technique, you can articulate melody lines, you can reinforce it with harmony, and you can find your own sound as you go on through. In addition to working with this, it's a really great exercise for if you're wanting to learn how to solo. Whenever you see people do something that rip or lick or whatever it might be, the thumb is a really great technique to be working on to get practice with this. And by using the rest stroke method of making sure that the finger stops on the next string, you get a lot more precision and a lot more tone out of each one of those notes when you strike it, rather than if you were trying to just articulate the note just like this. So on your ukulele journey, try to use this technique to find your sound and try to use it to play melodies and start layering in melodies and harmonies together. And the next time you see something that you want to make into a chord melody arrangement, see if this technique fits to create that sound you're looking for. And one final note with this, as you get really comfortable with it and you get comfortable with other techniques, maybe you do some embellishment techniques like hammer-on, slides, things like that, this is a wonderful tune to experiment and play with that. One of my favorite things to do with this song, super basic, super simple if you know how to hammer on. If you play that opening part and then you play the G chord without that middle finger, super basic and super simple if you know how to hammer on. If you play your G chord without that middle finger on, you play 0, 2, 3, 0, strum through, and then hammer on that second fret, it's just magic. It's just a really nice sound, and you could even do a pull-off out of it. And you really start to create texture and different sounds by experimenting with this. And what's wonderful about this tune is because it's so simple, because this melody is so pure, you have a lot of opportunities to embellish on it and make it your own and try some different things with it. And so these are techniques I love to use with it. Be sure to try different techniques that you like and see how you can make it your own.